This is the day about a year ago that I walked out of my workplace, said goodbye to my day job, and jumped into the abyss of trying to create a livelihood as a creative entrepreneur. After spending several years getting experience, building my skills, and building my financial foundation through full-time employment, I wanted to get back to my artist roots, honor my creative gifts, and finally be able to do my own thing. I have a fierce independent streak. So I'm trying to make sense of that abyss now. I'm in the building phase of trying to grow my income and become financially sustainable as a full-time creative, and part of that is having several different income streams, which I'll be sharing in this video. I'm not there to my level of satisfaction just yet, but here's what I have so far. I want to document my journey on this channel along the way, so I'm excited to take you with me and be able to check back on this in a year or so and see how things have developed. Hey, it's your girl Ahsante, helping you move consciously and creatively through life, so let's go. I'm going to be going through all of the income streams I had last year in 2021, and then at the end, just from a business owner's perspective, I want to point out a couple of things about these pieces of income because not all income streams are created equal. So in terms of percentage of my income going from greatest to least, first is media consulting and client work at 47% of my income. I worked with a handful of clients last year, all media companies and all actually companies that I already had relationships with, and I realized that I really enjoy consulting. I wasn't planning on doing consulting before when I jumped out. I wanted to be focused, all creative, all the time, focused on my own work. But interesting opportunities found me, and they were really good fits, and I enjoy working with teams. I advise on editorial and creative direction for online video, as well as video strategy, and sometimes I'm involved in the physical production as well. I find that it's a good balance against content creation, which can be very introspective and a little isolating. And I've already had a really nice career working within journalism and media. I have a lot of expertise, and I want to continue to put that to use. So I think consulting, working with media companies on various productions in various ways is a great way to do that. Next is grant funding at 37% of my income. I received the YouTube Black Voices grant last year. That was a big chunk of what I made last year. It was a total surprise. They had never done the grant before. So again, it was an opportunity that found me. I can't say how much it was, but it was definitely what made me 100% comfortable with quitting my job in the middle of a pandemic, which guess what? We're still in the middle of. I thought that I was quitting my job with the end of the pandemic in sight, like a little fuzzy, but it's in the distance. It's on the horizon. We're almost. Nope, not almost. Not in sight anymore. The horizon has disappeared. It's just fog out there. So that makes me even more grateful that I had this funding before quitting because it's definitely helped me to extend my runway. And seeing how nice it's been to be able to build out my work and my creative approach without worrying about finances has made me realize that creative grants are really the move. So I'm going to try to eventually get myself into a routine of searching for and applying to grants on the regular. Next is Adsense at 9% of my income. Honestly, this went surprisingly well for me last year. I hadn't made that much from Adsense in the past. It had just been a pleasant surprise when something got dropped into my bank account a couple times a year. You only get a deposit once you pass $100 of earnings. And I had actually stopped getting payments in 2020-ish because I needed to update my bank account info, and it was just admin that I didn't have time to do, and it didn't seem super important, so I didn't bother. But this past year, I made over $10,000 in AdSense, so it's starting to feel like something that I can maybe start to factor in now. It does definitely vary a lot though, like some months I made $200, some months I made $2,000. There was a huge range, and the range seemed to vary based on when I'd have a video pop. So if I reached 300,000-ish views in a month, that's when I'd start to see things in the thousands. So it's given me an idea of what it would take on my channel to have AdSense become a meaningful source of income. Next is my day job at 6% of my income. I was still employed at the beginning of last year. I worked in January and February before I left to be fully independent in March. Pretty self-explanatory. It is an eighth source of income because it's not from me being independent, but it was part of my overall 2021 income pie. And now we get to the parts that last year made up a very small portion of my income, but these are the ones that I'm really interested in growing the most this year. Patreon at 1% of my income. My Patreon community has been small but mighty over the years. I super appreciate the folks who support me there and are in my corner cheering me on. I have several tiers on my Patreon that give you more access to me and the behind the scenes of how I'm developing my YouTube channel, my business, my career overall, as well as some exclusive content just for patrons. I would love to get to the point where my Patreon is making up closer to half of my income. Up until this year, really 2022, I had really been producing content like it was my side hobby. every now and then, and I think my Patreon numbers reflect that. But this year I'm putting things out much more frequently, so I'm hoping my Patreon grows along with that. And just because of my value system, I really want to be viewer supported and have that trust and encouragement from my audience. So we'll see. For now, it's nice to know that between this and Adsense, I'm able to cover my baseline business expenses each month. Next are Notion templates that I sell on Gumroad at 0.4% of my income. I launched a couple Notion templates last year. I have a free habit tracker, a reading list template that's paid, and my ultimate to-do list that's paid. And most of this is from the ultimate to-do list. I did those things along with my first Notion video last year just to test the waters and see what the response would be. And I thought the response went really well. In the grand scheme of my income, it wasn't that much, less than $1,000, but it was very much not zero, and anything that's not zero can scale. So that motivated me to launch more templates this year and work on more Notion content this year. And I already think this percentage will be higher in 2022 because already in the first few weeks of the year, I've made more from the templates than I did from Patreon all of last year. So it's something that folks are clearly finding valuable, and that's what I'm looking for as I'm trying to focus my business. So very hopeful about that. And finally, there's Buy Me a Coffee at 0.3% of my income. Buy Me a Coffee is a site that allows you to show your appreciation for someone with a small one-time donation. And I opened this last year because people discovered my How to Be a Good Ally video during our summer of racial awakening that we had, and were leaving comments and sending messages that said, "This is so valuable, this is so helpful, can I pay you? What is your Venmo?" I had someone email me asking, where can I send a check? And I was like, oh, let me set up a way for people to just be able to give a little something to show their appreciation outside of Patreon and like subscribing and membership. So I said, you know what? You can buy me a coffee. I like it because as a gesture, buying someone coffee comes from a place of mutual respect as opposed to tipping someone, which is rooted in the practice of people in service roles not being paid equitably. So Buy Me a Coffee is a cute concept and a cute platform as well. So now I leave that link in the description of videos, and people can give if they are so inclined, and people do, and they leave their messages of encouragement and support, and I love it, and it's really nice. So for anyone who's bought me coffee over the past year, thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. I really appreciate it. Those are my 7 income streams as an independent creative, and you'll notice a couple of things about this pie chart. First, I'm not making a lot of money from being a content creator. That would really be Patreon and Adsense, and there's no sponsorship on this pie chart. I didn't do any sponsorships last year. And I only posted 1 video per month last year, which is double what I had been posting, but is less than what it typically takes to run a YouTube channel, as I know. So while I did bring in a good amount from content, I'm still very much in startup mode when it comes to making the content creation sustainable, which is my goal for this year. So basically, it's like I got a good chunk of seed funding last year to invest in the business and try to grow the content creation side this year. Second, much of this income is not something that recurs every month, and much of it won't recur again this year. So the grant was a one-time thing, the day job is gone, and the consulting clients come and go. So I'm definitely in a position where I'm juggling things and trying to line up new gigs as I have availability. Another reason why I like Patreon is because it would be that recurring monthly revenue. But it does look like it's going to be a jigsaw puzzle of income for me going forward this year, and I do still have savings. So basically, I'm just pushing myself this year, believing in myself, believing that I'll grow, and then I'll assess my numbers at the end of this year and see what kind of business decisions I need to make and where it makes sense to spend my time. And third, there's a mix of active and passive income streams in here. The way people throw around passive income, it seems like there's no work involved, which sometimes there isn't, but I think for the best passive income streams, best in terms of actually providing things that are valuable to people, it's usually just that the work is very front-loaded. So you work pretty intensely on a product that's of value, or you buy an asset that's of value, and then people find it valuable enough so that they will pay you to use it. So you only have to make the thing once, but multiple people can get value out of it. And it's nice to have a mix of passive and active when you're a solo business owner, because you can only be working on a few things at a time, but you need to generate all of your income yourself. So I am working on a few other ideas for products and valuable assets that I can provide to folks. I will hopefully have updates about that later in this year. And I really want to be working actively on content creation, which affects Adsense and Patreon, and my media media consulting client work because that brings a nice variety of projects to my career and also allows me to work with teams and with ideas that are larger than just myself and my personal brand and my personal thoughts. So those are my income streams from 2021. If you like this video, then consider subscribing. Thanks as always to my Patreon supporters for having my back in this. Y'all are the real MVPs. And as always, remember to live spiritedly and think creatively, and I will see you next time.